So hi everyone, I wanted to welcome all of you to this session. So I'm Celine and it's really a privilege to be moderating this panel. I think we're still waiting oh, there's Robert. So we're still waiting on one more, but I'll just lay out the grounds for right now. So the panel is called We Are the Movement, Shifting Social Norms for Tech-Life Balance. So it's all about activists whom we have here, who are starting grassroots movements to help peers benefit from greater tech-life balance. So to all of you who are viewing right now, we really hope you can get inspired by these four remarkable and talented change makers. Right now they're three, but and we hope you can get practical ideas to pursue your own passions in this field, and then also live in more balance together. So just before we start and before I have the speakers introduce themselves, just want to set down just a basic overview. So we'll start with 15 to 20 minutes for discussion in the beginning, and then we'll go on to 15 minutes for Q&A. And then, so for the audience members, we encourage you to chat as much as possible with your fellow attendees. And also for the Q&A, please direct all your questions to the Q&A that's within Zoom. So I think we can get started. There's still one more, but Julia might arrive. But so I'd love our speakers to introduce themselves, just name, where are you from, and then one thing that gives you joy outside of work. So Liana, do you want to start? Sorry, Liana, Madi, are you hearing her? No, Liana, I don't think your microphone is working. Maybe is it connected to speakers? While you get that settled, I'll just ask Madi to introduce herself, if you will.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Madi Murata. I am currently a freshman in college. I'm from California, but I'm currently in Phoenix, Arizona for college. I'm majoring in sociology with an emphasis in social work. And one thing that gives me joy outside of this is probably my friends. I'm actually in Tucson, just spending the weekend with them. So yeah, they give me joy.
Robert, do you want to go?
Yeah, I can go. So my name is Robert. I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm a senior in high school so far. And something that gives me joy is probably band, but not for the reasons you think, because that's like, I'm kind of cyber, so that's kind of like the best way for me to get out and hang out with my friends and just be goofy like I used to. So yeah.
Wonderful. Liana, is it still working?
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. That was weird because it was working before and then I don't know what happened. So I'm Liana. I'm in New York City, and I was saying that the thing that brings me joy, there's so many, I can't just choose one, but I do love a dance party by myself. That just is the best.
Wonderful. Yeah, same. And so now I just want to get into discussion. So I have a first question for you all. So you guys are such strong examples of activists, and you really are making a movement and shifting social norms for tech-life balance. So I would love you guys to just briefly describe, just in a few words, few sentences, the name of the project you have created and a bit of its mission. So Liana, you want to start?
Sure. So TTYL is my company, Talk to You Later. And it's a tech-free community dedicated to human connection. So I'm all about helping people have a healthy relationship with technology in every aspect of their life.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Robert or Madi? Yeah.
Working with Techlife Live More, we help make up the monthly initiatives that we send out to all of the wonderful people involved with Techlife Live More. And that's just kind of to get you off your phone, live a little more in your communities, spend more time with your family, and just get off of your phone.
Just to add on that, some of the other things text us with more like the main focus of it is mostly like distracted driving, but then it also branches out into just making sure people stay off their phones as much as possible. Because if you're off your phone like and enjoying life, you're most likely also not going to use it while driving. And it's a major thing that you like people are just addicted to their phones, so it's a major thing to get people off of in general.
Yeah, definitely. And I love how you guys are so centered around, tech life balance, and you're using such different approaches to that, which is wonderful. And I actually wanted to ask, Maddie and Robert, I saw you guys do monthly web series, you do a Text Less Live More pledge. So I love how you're building awareness through that. And then if people want to do a pledge or want to do, awareness campaigns, what has worked for you guys and what hasn't through that approach?
Robert, you want to answer or do you want me to go?
I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay. It's really easy to get involved with Text Less Live More. Normally, without COVID-19, obviously, Marie would fly out to his school and set up a really fun table. Marie's our executive director, and she brings all these cool things to see what it's like to drive impaired. She has activities to see what it's like to be under the influence, even behind the wheel. And it's super easy to just get involved. We have these awesome pledge signings that people do. I've done a couple at my own school, and we've had over 300 people sign the banner saying that they're pledging to not text and drive, or just drive distracted in general. And we've been really successful. I haven't really heard of any unsuccessful ones, which is really awesome and such a blessing for our whole company. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit on how to get involved. I don't know if you want to add anything, Robert.
I was just gonna say what has worked and what really hasn't worked. I feel like I don't think anything hasn't worked because what has worked has been so well. And it's mostly like when you discuss the topic, it's not just saying, hey, here's the facts, here's what you should do. It's getting the people involved saying, hey, can you look at if you look at screen time, one of the biggest things we've done, or at least I've done, is make everyone check their screen time. And it's like, oh, can everyone kind of share how much time they've spent on their phone, or how much time they spent on TikTok, Snapchat, stuff like that. And not only it gets it makes a place for everyone can converse about how much they spend on their phone. It also gives them awareness about how much time they're spending on it.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I mean, you mentioned getting people involved. I think that's such a difficult thing to do, especially when you're starting a movement. And so Liana, I know you do media channels, you do physical spaces for kind of brands to get your message out. How has that been difficult to get people involved?
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of overview as to what I do, because I think that was one of the questions. So basically I host in-person pop-up events around the city, and I always have Play-Doh and board games and coloring, and then I bring in activation. So I always have a theme of the evening. So it could be a mystical night with tarot and aura readers, or singers and comedians for an entertainment night. I had a dating event earlier this year that was really fun. So yeah, really runs the gamut. It's so basically I love to just curate a really awesome event, and then it's all just tech free. So I have everyone check their phones at the door, and really just tap into that childlike mentality and use their imagination, creativity again, because it's such an important part of our everyday that we often forget as adults, to really take those creative breaks. And, especially now with working from home, it's been really difficult for everyone to step away from their computers and remind themselves that we have, if you're working from home, you can use anything in your house to take healthy breaks and fun breaks. And they actually will increase your productivity. So if you're stuck on something, then you can kind of go back to it after taking an arts and crafts break, or doing a puzzle for 20 minutes. And then you come back with this new inspiration, this new mindset. So that's really what we're all about.
I love that, because I think sometimes we have this pre-existing notion or whatever that board games or games in social events, it's just boring or whatever, but that's really the essence of being creative and seeing what you can do with that time. So I love that. And I just want to know how has being virtual have changed kind of your movement, or for all of you guys, how has it kind of shifted your whole project?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's shifted a lot. Not being able to do things in person is really difficult. I actually made the executive decision this week that I'm going to pull back from all my virtual efforts. I really feel like it's just not, I'm not passionate about doing things virtually. And I feel like it very much goes against my mission. And that was, that was a hard decision. I was like trying to keep the ball rolling for the past 6-7 months. And it was just really difficult. And I've been able to reach some moonshot goals that I wasn't able to, and like create some merchandise and put together a really awesome resource list and things like that. But at the end of the day, like I needed to, if I'm doing an event virtually and it's like digital and, it's all tech related, like, and I even sense like people aren't always paying attention, they're distracted, like it just didn't align with anything that I was trying to do. So yeah, definitely a big shift, kind of just keeping it on the down low until things are somewhat back to normal and I can be in person again and hug everyone, because that's what I miss.
Yeah. And Maddie and Robert, has it changed anything for you guys?
Yeah, it's changed quite a bit. We actually started something amazing for Text Less Live More because of the pandemic. We have our monthly initiatives, like we were mentioning before, but we started doing these monthly Zoom calls to kind of engage everyone across the country who's doing the initiatives and kind of talk about it, do like a little check-in, see how everyone's doing, because mental health is also something that we're very aware of right now, especially being so closed off to so many people all the time. So it's really nice to just check in with everyone, just create a safe space to just kind of reach out and see how everyone's doing. And I saw this work with with Text Less Live More and SAD. I also help with Students Against Destructive Decisions, and we were supposed to have our national conference in St. Louis this year, but it obviously couldn't happen. So we did a virtual one, but it was also really cool because we had like mini series recorded and still got to engage with students across the nation. So obviously not under ideal circumstances, but we're figuring out ways to do it and still having so much fun doing so.
Yeah. And then I want to know, because I know there are viewers that are here and want to know how you guys, how do you build a movement? So what would you tell someone maybe who wants to make a difference in their community around digital wellness? Like, where should they start? How get involved? Yeah, Robert or Liana, go ahead.
Yeah, Robert, do you want to go? Do you want to say something?
I don't think I would be like the best person to say, but in my opinion, it would always be start small, of course, because like if it like you don't want to take on the whole world at one time. It's like if you can touch one person, then you can inspire another. Like start with the community, then try to be, and then when you think you're able to, branch out as much as possible. But like it's only gonna work if you get like a small group done first, and if that's not there, then you won't be able to do anything.
Yeah, I think for me it was a lot of research. When I first got into this, and digital wellness wasn't even a term 3 years ago, so for me I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew that I was really frustrated after I graduated from college, that I found myself constantly on my phone, and I didn't used to be like that at all. And I was having FOMO for my friends, and I was on vacation. I thought how ridiculous it was and wished that things were just simpler. Like I missed hanging out with my friends for, hours and hours, and we just play board games when I was a kid, or like, play with dolls or like Legos or whatever. And I just wish there was a space where you could go and do that. So I first delved into research and kind of was just like, I want to create something around wellness, like no phones. I don't know if there's anything out there like that. And I actually stumbled upon Center for Humane Technology. And that was the first bit of community that I found, that people were like, I was like, wow, there are other people out there that are advocating for the same thing that I'm maybe passionate about. I don't know. Didn't really know what TTYL was, or didn't have a name for it at all. And I found that, you know, the research and all the work that I did for like, I mean, I'm still doing research every day and still learning every day, but that first year was so important for me before I even started coming up with my concept, because it's all about, you know, knowledge is power when you're building a business. And I truly believe like especially as a young entrepreneur, like you're going to meet older people who are going to try and bring you down and tell you like, no, you should do it this way or that. And it's like, no, like I've done my research and like, this is what my generation wants. And this is what is going to be impactful for us right now. So it's just being confident is knowing and doing your research.
Yeah, I love that response. I think being confident, and then Robert, you also said starting small is so important for when you have, you know, passionate about change. Starting small is just really important. Yeah, Madi, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of say like get out of your comfort zone. Starting things can be really scary, but getting out of your comfort zone is so important. But also finding something that you're passionate about. That passion will give you drive to just make something so amazing out of that. And talking to a trusted adult to get things kind of started, because it's really hard to just keep it all to yourself and not really tell anyone about it. But finding a trusted adult to kind of get you started, get you connected to people, is also super important to like kind of get that going. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is getting out of your comfort zone. Like even joining Techlife Live More, that was like a huge step because I didn't know how to work at something at a national level. But that was super scary, but something so amazing came out of that.
Yeah. I mean, Robert and Liana, what was getting out of your comfort zone for you guys in this movement?
Sorry, it's like every time I press unmute, it doesn't want to unmute until right when someone's about to say something. But for me, it was like while working for Texas with More, the first thing I had to do was we have a SAD regional conference, and Marie was supposed to fly down and like do Texas with More. She said, "Hey, do you want to present? And I'll just be there like for emotional support if you need anything." I said, "Sure." I've never presented anything in my entire life to like something so big. So I was nervous, like completely. I was like shaking all the way up there. I was like, you know what? I got this. Marie's there. She gave me a call. She's like, something went wrong. Can you do this solo? I said, yeah, of course. But with the help of first off, love Marie. But with the help of like all my friends and my SAD advisor, like making sure I had every single thing down, it was like just such a amazing feeling to be able to do that. But it was a huge step out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
For me, there are so many things, but I think the biggest step outside of my comfort zone was when I started charging for my events. Because at first I was like, you know, I want to make sure that people are actually interested in this, doing pop-up events, and I would have like tons of my friends show up, and you know, it was great, whatever. And then I started charging, and I actually like had to up my price to a point where I was like, people were like, no, like these events are worth it. Like you have to know your worth and be confident in that. And that was a really hard thing for me to wrap my head around. I was like, but like, it's fine. And they're like, no. Like you need to be confident in yourself and trust yourself that what you're doing is amazing. And I think, yeah, just the self-worth part, and the whole like imposter syndrome aspect was, I think, the scariest part for me when I was like starting to really grow and getting more press. And it was like, whoa, it was scary. So yeah.
Yeah, I love how you all just pointed out trust, confidence, passion, because that's so important when starting a movement. You don't know, it's totally the unknown. So having those attributes are really important. And so I'm curious to know on a personal level, what does, you guys are so ingrained with, tech balance, tech life balance, and what does a healthy relationship with tech look like for each of you? Madi, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. I think a healthy relationship, well, I think it changed a lot over the past I don't know how long we've been in quarantine now, but over this whole quarantine, I think it's changed a lot, because beforehand it was like just checking in with yourself, seeing if you were spending too much time on your phone, seeing what your screen time was, which is honestly always scary. But being on Zoom and starting to do school from Zoom, like you just feel so like focused on technology all the time. And so I think just finding that balance between your actual screen and like people away from the screen, like spending time with I've never spent more time with my family in my entire life, and that was so fun because we just did things we always wanted to do but never had time for. But it was hard finding that balance because you have everything you need to do for the entire day on your laptop, computer, whatever it is, and you just felt like you were always staring at something. And I got so tired of it just because my eyes are like so dry all the time. But just finding that balance is kind of hard in the beginning. But I think I've found like a good groove now. I've been setting time aside to go hang out with my friends, and setting times where I really need to finish my work, and just so I can shut my laptop and get off my phone and just go hang out for the rest of the day. But yeah, it was hard in the beginning.
We have one more. So either Liana or Robert. Robert, you want to go ahead and answer that one?
I was gonna say, like, what it looks like for me is kind of way harder because in where I am, like, COVID, I cannot physically go outside the house. So to make sure I can do what I do, I make sure like the time I do spend on my phone will not just be on like social media or like watching people snap, but it will be making sure that I still keep those relationships I've had with people. So like I'll pick a random person that like I used to hang out with during school and I'd give them a call. Be like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Is everything all right? And just like chat. And I'll talk to someone for hours straight and they'll be like, thank you. Like, I did not expect you to call. And I'm like, of course. But it's just making sure like you talk to the friends that you usually would talk to if COVID wasn't happening.
Yeah, that's important, definitely. So I think we don't have more time for discussion. I think we'll pass on to the Q&A for our last few minutes. So I'm just going to wait for some questions to come up. All right, one question is, what tips do you have more asking friends and family to take a break from tech when you're together? So I think it's, do you have more tips for friends and family to take a break from tech when you're together?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I feel like this happens often. And like when you see someone that you're with taking out their phone or technology, you tend to gravitate towards it too. And I think that's something to note is like, we're all, we can call ourselves, I'm a digital wellness coach. You guys are experts. Like we all work in this industry. That doesn't mean that we're perfect either. I definitely I call them scrolling days. Like when I wake up on the wrong side of the bed and I just immediately check my phone. So yeah, it's just like, we do it too. But I think when we go in with the mindset of like, okay, I'm going to go and be with my family, be with my friends. And like, we see our friends taking out our phone, we're talking, or like, we're at dinner or whatever. And it's like, hey, I took my time out of my day, out of my evening to be with you. And like, I really just value our time together. I'd really appreciate it if we can just like be off our phones for the time that we have. Because it's so precious. And especially during quarantine, like it's even more precious. And if they don't respect that, then I don't know, man. You may need to find some new family. No, I'm kidding. But
yeah. But sometimes it's hard to say, like, can we have precious time and take away our phones? That's the hardest part. But Madi, did you have anything to add to that? Or
Yeah, actually, one of the things that my friends and I do sometimes, if it's really bad and we're all just sitting on our phones, we'll put our phone, well, like if we're out to dinner, we'll put our phones all in the middle of the table, and whoever touches their phone first has to like pay for another person, or we kind of just make a game out of it. It'll be like a different thing every time, but that's just one thing we kind of do to just make it fun. Like, obviously, you should get off your phone because it's healthy for you, but making a game out of it is also really fun.
incentives, that's important. Another question we have is towards for Liana. I'd love to hear more on T2IL. How do you help others build human connections?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm really all about meaningful conversations. So at each of my events, it's really, I think that, taking people's phones, like physically taking that itch away from you, and really just having everyone interact with each other in the beginning and end. And then all the events are curated with some sort of conversation. So like I've done events where we've done a little journaling prompt and then everyone talks about it and like what came up for them. And I found that conversation really flows naturally when you have something familiar to do with your hands, which I think is why we've just gravitated towards our phones. Like that's when they say like when you're at a party and you don't want to drink, but like just holding something in your hand just makes you feel more social. It's kind of the same thing at my events. So like, having like a dice in your hand or, a card or Play-Doh or something, it just automatically has this natural flow of conversation going, just from familiarity and childhood.
Yeah, definitely. I think we always gravitate towards our phones because that's just the distraction to have. Another question is, I've been hearing a lot lately about why social media is bad. I think we also need to understand the good side of social media. Now, what are the good parts of social media like Instagram and Facebook? Madi or Robert, do you want to answer that one?
I think I also agree with you that there's good parts and bad parts to social media. I think the worst part is just spending so much time on it and that being your entire life. But social media is also a great way to connect with people. That was like a main source of connection, especially at the start of this whole pandemic, where you just get to check in with your friends, see what's going on. I don't use Facebook as often, but I do know like even my parents, that's how they keep up with their friends and just checking in to see what people are doing in their lives. I think that's an like amazing thing of social media. Just you can check in with your friends from home and just see what people are doing and how they're living their lives.
Totally agree. And that's why it's so important to point out this is not a black or white issue. It's all in the middle. And it's what are we doing to not only, limit tech, but just when we are using it, how do we use it better? Robert, did you want to add anything?
It was really just gonna be like re-saying what Madi said because she basically nailed it.
Wonderful. Next question. What is an action I can take as a high schooler to raise awareness to this issue at school?
I think start off, I don't know, like every school has a different like club process, I guess, but like I kind of mentioned before, finding a trusted teacher that you can kind of talk to. Also with Techlife Love More works really closely with Students Against Destructive Decisions, which is sad. But looking to start like a SAD chapter at your school is also really helpful because they also kind of cover the same issues. But just kind of seeing what organizations you can get involved with, doing your research, finding something related to this or this topic that you're really passionate about, and just kind of going for it. There's different ways you can take steps to do it, but yeah, you kind of just gotta take a big leap and just go for it. That's really awesome that you want to start something though.
I was just saying, like, even if it's not just a sad chapter, like if it's just like a club of like-minded individuals, like all with the same goal trying to work together, just take it from there and try to like start off with the school, see if you can get people to join, and then try to branch out. That's it. Start small.
Yeah, wise words. So another question is, does anyone have a phone drop box inside their home for guests? Do it help?
I love that question. I don't have it in my home. I mean, I bring it to my events, but I just moved into my own apartment, and like if I ever have parties, I know that I'm gonna do that because it's just like I think it would just really help and bring in that human connection and allow people to really mingle. So I definitely want to do that with like bigger groups, but if a friend just comes over, we usually are pretty fine about it. So
yeah. Madi and Robert, would you ever consider?
I do not think I would ever consider a phone Dropbox because one of my favorite things when we do with friends is actually a game called Jackbox, where it's kind of like also centered where you need some type of internet to play it. So like we'll use our phones to be able to play it on our TV. So like we have kind of games like that where we kind of do need our phones, but like not check them all the time.
Yeah, definitely. Creating that balance when someone just walks in is also really important. Another question, what's the first thing I should do to start a movement where I live? So Madi or Liana, do you guys want to start?
I think kind of like I was saying before, finding something you're passionate about. Obviously, starting a movement is a huge thing to do. So kudos to you for wanting to do that. But yeah, finding something you're super passionate about. I think also talking to people, trying to like see who you can help get involved with that. Because the more people you have on your team, the better. Just because it is a big thing to do. But yeah, getting people connected, finding other people who want to get involved, talking to an adult if you are a youth to just help you get connections, build those connections, and reaching out to organizations because most of the time organizations will help you kind of get you going and things you want to do.
Yeah, those are great ideas. I definitely, yeah, just like if you have a big idea, like start big, like shoot for the moon, start with that, start talking about it. And I'm like, this happened to me. Like I started talking about it to my friends and they were like, whoa, like, let's bring it back. Like, let's try you just doing something very low key. Like I wanted to open up like a full-time space cafe. I was like, let's do this. And they were like, let's try pop-ups first and like see if people are interested. Let's try something in our apartment and like gather friends and like have everyone put their phones away. And that's what I did. Sometimes it's really important to have people in your network and like they can be close friends or family that are gonna like pull you back and make you realize like, okay, this is reality, but it's not, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen in 5-10 years. But for the time being, it's just important to kind of try things out and like see what they can become.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I'm curious, how long did it take for you guys to actually see impact happen? Sometimes that's a slow process.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for me, it's tough to say like an exact time, I guess. But like I definitely saw a lot of like when I first put on my event, like I had my website and everything. And like my first event, I just felt this energy and like knew that there was something there. But my first event is so different from what my events are now. Like I didn't even do themes or bring in activations. Like it was purely just an opportunity to like take people's phones away and see what would happen. And it's really evolved into something even more magical and special over time. And this year, like I definitely felt like it was really evolving and growing into something that I was really excited about. So kind of a bummer, obviously that this all happened, but I'm going to come back stronger next year. And I'm very excited about that.
Yeah. And for Texas More, how did you guys measure impact? And
well, me personally, it was like how like to see the difference in the people I hang around with. And it's funny because the biggest impact I saw was actually at the same conference I had to speak at, because at the end we all had a meeting because it was a sad thing. So they're like, okay, what do you want to try to implement in your sad chapter from the information you got? And I did not see a single group that did not mention something about getting everyone off their phone. And I just felt like I actually did something. It was a good feeling.
Yeah. Another question we got was, what can social media provide that something like messages can't?
I think social media, the first thing that like comes to mind is like Snapchat. I just use Snapchat a lot. But my friends and I have started doing is sending videos to each other, because if we can't like talk to each other on the phone, then we'll like send actual like talking videos to each other. And I think that's just a unique way to connect with each other. And obviously not doing that all the time is great, but that's like just another unique way to connect with each other. That's something like you can't just do through text. Like obviously you can't send a video of you talking through text, but it's not like the same kind of feel that like Snapchat provides. But yeah, social media is such a unique thing, and something that's also cool about messages, though, I will say, is just being able to text someone and just like reach out to them, say like, hey, how's it going? How are you doing this week? I did that a lot throughout quarantine just because I wanted to make sure my friends were good and my family were okay, because I know quarantine hit everyone differently. But yeah, finding different social media platforms to even check in with your friends is something really cool that messages can't necessarily do.
Yeah, I also think just the power that we have to connect with people around the world, right? Like messages is just our people in our network, just our friends, our family, people that we know, we've met, and especially during quarantine. I think a lot of people are alone and lonely, and like it's an opportunity to make new friends and make new connections. You know, it's all like the 6 degrees of separation when you go to LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. And I use Facebook a lot for groups. There's a lot of great communities out there. People are looking, you know, for a helping hand. I've gotten jobs that way. It's just a really cool, it's a really cool thing that social media can make that connection for you. So.
Robert, did you have anything to add?
Mine's actually a very unique case because I actually have an Android phone. So compared to everyone else, like in all my group chats and everything, I can't do everything that everyone can do on messages. So it's just easier for me and everyone else if we text on like social media, aka Snapchat or Instagram, because then like we can also send memes, which is, you know, like kind of the main part of keeping it on those social media platforms, because then, you know, we get to connect and like laugh at certain things all together, which I can't physically do with an Android phone.
Yeah, definitely. So the next question is, let's say we make it to the point that social media companies are ready to make ethical changes. What should those changes be?
That's a great question. I am going to go with privacy and time limit. Those are my 2 things that I think are, and probably, I mean, I don't want to say no likes, but maybe there's a better way to make people feel like it's not a competition, especially with Instagram and, you know, followers and all of that kind of stuff. Not as much influential culture. Those would probably be all my things.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I agree. I think privacy and is such an important thing. That's like the good topic right now. But also with the likes, I don't know if this is like, I think it's happening, but I'm not entirely sure. But I don't know if you guys know who like David Dobrik is. He's like starting this new disposable social media kind of thing where you kind of just take a picture and that's it. Like that's just what's posted without like editing or anything like that, which I think is really cool because I feel like when people edit their pictures, I'm not talking about like filters or anything, but like tuning the little things and just editing imperfections and stuff like that is something that can be really toxic to young minds who are always on their phones scrolling. But I think that's something that's kind of cool. Not necessarily that companies will do because that is part of like the whole thing and can't really control that. But I think it's something cool that's going to be implemented into someone else's social media platform.
Robert, anything to add to that?
I wish I could. No, they hit everything again.
Great. And so we know that one question I have is we know that the social dilemma is just such a powerful call to action. And as we're saying about privacy and, you know, influence, and it's revealing really what's going on behind the scenes, behind these giant tech companies. So I'd love to know what as we're closing, what's your one call to action for viewers watching? Liana, would you like to start?
Sure. I'm just like taking a breath. It's such a loaded question.
Yeah.
I think it's just awareness for me. Awareness when you really get to the point where you are about to gravitate towards technology and take a step back, take a breath and be like, what? It's usually we gravitate towards it because we're avoiding something in our lives. So for me, it's just all about making that mental connection of like, okay, what do I really need to focus on for myself right now, rather than going on Instagram and scrolling mindlessly for half an hour, which I've definitely done. But then I really need to look internally and like focus on myself. So I think it's it's a really unique time to be able to do that as well, just with being at home so much and having so much silence. But it's a really good habit to get into now, so that when everything's back to normal, you'll be that person telling all your friends to get off their phones.
Definitely. Yeah, awareness is so important. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but thank you guys so much for for your such considerate responses. So to those who are still viewing, I really encourage you to check out everything that's happening after. We have leading thinking people, thinkers and doers in the Village and Exhibitors Hall, and we also have Jeff and Tristan, and then the 90/90 action sprint. So don't miss that. And thank you so much to our speakers and viewers for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.